Hey, what's up, everyone? Brad Chmielewski here with another episode of Shatter the Vain. Uh, this episode, we're going to run down a bunch of the changes, almost all the changes in Update 2.0. I know I usually kicked out an episode every time there was an update, or usually kicked one out like the day after or something like that. But you know what? Those two podcasts a week, they are tough. And during the holidays, it's even harder. So, you know what? Pushing it back here. I got a great guest on to help me go through these changes, talk about the new hero, the minion mine or the crystal miner changes, and as well as like all four of these items, just kind of talking about what we've been seeing. I'm sure a lot of people have been loving and maybe hating Echo out there. So this is really cool episode to kind of just go through and kind of, if you haven't read all the patch notes or the update notes for 2.0, I recommend reading those and listening to this. But if you haven't read them, you can listen to this and get a good portion of the knowledge that maybe you missed or skipped over or are unsure of. So yeah, we're going to jump into all that in this episode. And I got to thank all the Patreons over at patreon.com/shatterthevain. We got Nicholas, Jason, Mike, another Nicholas, Brizzle, PJ, and Christopher. You guys are awesome. Thanks for supporting the podcast. Anyone out there thinking about supporting it, go over there, patreon.com/shatterthevain. Keep growing the show. Maybe we'll get to do 2 episodes every week with a little support. I can get some help put this together, make sure we're finding enough news and things to talk about twice a week, let alone once a week, and have guests all the time. So, but if you can't do it, no worries. Thank you, everyone who's been listening and supporting the show. And to go along with this episode and for it being Christmas time, I got a $25 iTunes gift card I'm going to give away on this episode. There should be a link in the description for a way to enter. I'll have that set up so you can enter. I'll draw this probably in the next couple days before Christmas and get it to you. I'll give you the little code. Get $25 worth of ice. Maybe pick up the new hero or pick up a new skin. Whatever you need, but yeah, so check the description for that, or if you're watching the video, it should be down below. If you're listening to audio, go to the website, it's there, I'll link to it. And with that, let's get into episode 134.
Shatter the Vain, a podcast about vainglory.
This is the 134th episode of Shatter the Vain. My name is Brad Chmielewski, and this is a podcast all about vainglory. Every week, try to break down the news, gameplay, game tips, and hopefully we can all become better players together. And helping me do that, I'm always bringing on new people who love the game, help make it better, just want to push it forward. And this week is no exception. I have Night Walker joining me. Welcome.
Hello, hello.
Good to have you on. I'm sure there's a good portion of people that probably know you if you've been on Discord or in streams, but if you want to introduce yourself, let everyone know who you are.
So I am officially Nightwalker59. A lot of people know me from Twitch and Mob Crush and Discord and the game and everywhere else. I mod 35 plus channels on Twitch.
Damn. Okay.
I admin multiple Discords as well as mod on Discords. I'm just very, very involved in the community.
Okay. How the 35 channels? That's a lot of people to mod. Were you into the Twitch scenes before the game?
Actually, no.
Okay.
I won't say that Vainglory was my first experience with Twitch, but I really just loved the Vainglory community a lot when I first started playing, and really just it kind of took off. And I try to be positive and helpful and do everything I can to help the streamers and help the audience. And so I think that just kind of led to a lot of honorary mods.
Okay, for sure. Well, yeah, that's especially.
I mean, obviously, I can't be present in 35 streams at once, but especially with my odd hours being up at night,
Okay.
I am on a lot of late night streams and EU streams and things like that.
a lot of the ones that NA people end up missing out on. That seems.
Yes, or all of the youngsters that really should be going to bed are on. So
It should be, but they're probably playing one more game, just trying to like before
always that
bed,
one
one
more
more
game.
game, one more game. That's cool. So did you start? Did you get into Vainglory when it launched here in NA, or did you find it later?
Actually, I got into it because of my daughter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's pretty awesome.
my daughter started playing it and asked me multiple times to download it and try her game, and I resisted for a little bit, and I did, and there's been no going back since then.
Nice. Does she still play then, or have you like
She
taken over
Oh
now?
no, she's VG, so
Oh
yeah.
wow. Okay. Nice. That's pretty awesome that you can play
She
together.
definitely plays.
Okay. Awesome.
And as a matter of fact, while we're talking, if you hear any woeful moans in the background, I believe she's ranking right now. So,
Okay. Is she solo queuing most of the time, or she got a team?
oh God, no, she's.
Okay.
I think they did duo a little while ago, and that was not good. So I
Okay.
think they're going full party.
That seems to be the case for most. I think a lot of people that play Vainglory don't have that solo queue mentality. They can't do it. It's frustrating.
It takes a definite particular constitution. I know people that thrive in solo queue. It's just not for everybody.
Yeah, I like the torture of it all. I like to be the one reason. Like it had to have been my fault. I can't blame my friends, anyone else. It was all on me.
I actually, interestingly, I come across quite a few high tier players that feel like solo queue is the true gauge of your abilities. So when they hit VG and they don't want to go any further, they'll go back and solo queue it and see,
Yeah.
can I play any role? Can I carry any team? Can I? And so, I mean, everybody approaches it differently, but for the most part, it can be a pretty awful experience. So.
Yeah, hopefully it's always improving. Matchmaker can get better and better
I
over
think there's a
time.
lot of things on the table for making improvements for the solo queue experience because I know, but I mean, one of the things that makes Vainglory what it is the community. And so, I mean, I'd like to see changes not just to solo queue, but to try and help the people that are kind of stuck in solo queue find a way to be connected to other people in the community so they might not have to do that as much.
And so I think some of the changes here with the guild and stuff in 2.0 is a step in that right direction.
Absolutely. I think it's intended to help people have an easier time finding a spot that's right for them.
Which I think is like a great segue. I kind of wanted to just kind of run through update 2.0 a bunch in this.
Sure.
I know you had a good experience and a helping hand in making 2.0 what it is, I guess.
Yes. I would say 10 hours a night of a helping hand in that. So.
Okay. Yeah, because you're part of the PBE testing group, and I know a lot of people are. I am too, but I don't end up testing because I don't have the time to. But I I chime in when I can.
It can be extremely time consuming. I'm a test coordinator, so a lot of what I do involves putting people into groups with the right people and making sure everybody's getting along and testing the things that we need to test and just making sure it's a good experience all the way around and that we can get the most done for you guys so that when the game hits live that it's as good as it can be.
And I'm sure somebody is listening or watching and thinking, how do I get in the PBE? It's a little bit of like who you know and if you can find the time. That's kind of the rule I've come across. Like you have to be a good player. You can't be like just new to the game. You have to have the time and have shown that you are a member of the community, I guess.
Yeah, there's definitely that's one of the things I like to stress to people who are interested in becoming a PBE tester is that the time commitment is significant and it is not intended for just jumping on, seeing the new stuff and saying, hey, fix your game and leaving. It's much more, it can be very repetitive. It can be very frustrating. And there's a lot of detailed feedback that needs to be given for us to make the right adjustments to the game. So though PBE seems really exciting and novel to everyone, especially when we are greenlit to stream and everybody gets a little preview of the new stuff, everybody wants PBE, but please bear in mind, we always welcome applications. We're happy to review an application, and but it's not a constant open gate flow of people into PBE. We add testers when we need them,
Right.
and So I do say apply, and if you have applied and you haven't had a response, be patient. So
We could see a time, maybe some point down the road, like leagues, PBE and Blizzards, like PTR, like they're open and they want as many people to test them. But right now,
right,
Vainglory's not at that point. So
yeah, it's a private beta at this point.
yeah, so it's hard. But yeah, 2.0 drops with like a massive amount of changes that I know. Oh, the testing for this was long and hard, and
Oh yeah,
it's the 2.0. It does feel like a different game. It's the same game once you start playing it enough, but it was kind of big changes as well as I guess just a refresh. Like it had to go to 2.0 at some point, and I think this was probably a good reason to.
Vainglory News.
Sure. I mean, I think a lot of the intention for 2.0 is really refreshing the game while keeping it the same at the same time. And I mean, I feel like we accomplished a lot of that. I think, I know SEMC tries very hard to listen to what the community wants and tries to incorporate as much of that into the changes that they make to the game. And on the same token, the community has to understand it's a huge community.
Right. Yeah.
And so trying to hit every single person's wishes for the game it can be difficult. So I think it's a matter of kind of prioritizing what they feel like needs to happen. I mean, I can't speak for them entirely, but I think they did a good job of listening to the core issues that people had and trying to make the changes that would best address those issues.
Mm-hmm. So I think one of the I would think the biggest change once you get in the game is this minion mine crystal miner change. I think that's just like the biggest one. If you were playing and then you're like, where is this
what
dude?
What is happening?
And
yes.
So that's like I would say almost the first thing you kind of notice. And this was a change I think a lot of people had been advocating Super Evil Megacorp to do for a long time, to kind of the gameplay of the crystal miner. There needed something else there. A different strategy, because when it was first launched, it buffed the minions, and then it created this whole weird fight for more gold. Like no one ever took them because the minion miner gave the minions extra gold and stuff like that. Yeah. But this change now, the minion or the crystal miner, he spawns at 4 minutes. He walks out from your base and he's on your team. He's basically another ally that showed up late. He AFK'd and finally got his device charged and showed up.
Yes, he did. I love the fact that he will attack on his way out. That he's not just like a zombie walking out to the mine to start mining. The minute he spawns, he is on your team. And, like they've said in the notes, you can walk out of base with him. If you want to port at 4 minutes and walk out with the crystal miner and start an engagement, basically his proximity to you, his vision of you, has to do with his engagement. That's the call for help dynamic. Okay. So, if you're running into your jungle and being chased by the enemy team, he will see that and get involved.
Mm-hmm. And he gets involved strong. Like he
hits like a truck.
Yeah.
He hits a truck.
And this is probably, I would think, one of the, I guess, most struggles in the first week is figuring out, do we safely go over there? Do we try to kill this thing? Or do we not? Do we just ignore it? And if we get in a fight, we better get out, right? I don't know.
Well, one of the things I had brought up at one point is that I think once the dust settles from 2.0 dropping, I mean, it dropped like a ton of bricks.
Yeah.
And I think once the dust settles, you're going to see some really interesting change in dynamics and the way people play with it, the way they use the miner to their advantage or to the enemy team's disadvantage. One of the things I haven't seen a lot of that became extremely popular during testing is candying him.
Right.
Which makes him exceptionally mean. Candied miners are truly a fourth player at that point. I know there's been some resistance to it in the community, but like I said, I really feel like once everybody settles into this update and gets a really true feel for it, that it won't seem quite as ridiculously strong.
Okay. We'll kind of get used to it, similar to maybe when all the jungle monsters were buffed and people in that first week died to them multiple times.
I feel like I do feel like that's going to happen because honestly, the biggest change that we had people struggling to get used to during testing was the no potions in the jungle shop.
Yeah.
That was the thing that took the longest for people to remember and to get used to. And yes, everybody still ran to the shop all the time, even when it wasn't there. And like I said, there's so many different things that changed with this update that I really encourage everybody to get a feel for it. And kind of learn it, live it, love it. I love it. I got so used to it when we were testing that when I went on live, it just felt so boring. I was like, oh, I can't wait for this to hit.
Right. Yeah, that other change of the jungle shop spawning at 4 minutes is awkward, I think, at the moment, because I think if you're in the jungle and you played that role a lot, you kind of don't know what to do. Like, you're like, I always got in a fight here, and now I guess I go up to lane, or do we port home? And there's still a lot of little confusion.
Well, I mean, you have options there, though, and I think the intention of taking the shop away, I didn't really think of it as them removing an objective, even though the jungle shop, control of the jungle shop or shopping first was a game objective for sure. I just think that it's changed your dynamics and tactics a bit. You have the option, if you're really aware of the way your comps work, you'd be aware of the enemy's clear time. If they have a slow clear and you finish first and there's no shop, you don't hesitate. You go straight to their stuff.
Right.
So you have at least the option of getting their twins before rotating up. If they have a really fast clear, you probably want to go check on your lane. I think there's some concern about that shifting too much action to lane right off the bat.
Yeah, that seems to be what's happened.
Sure.
At least the games I've seen. So.
Yeah, I think people are defaulting to rotating up to lane fast because that's kind of, in my opinion, the simplest solution.
Yeah.
But if you think about the first 4 minutes, you can counter jungle quite a bit. That first 4 minutes, there is no miner.
Right. So it's
safe, a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's completely safe to go over there and plant vision or counter jungle the heck out of them, especially if they cleared fast and rotated up to lane. Theoretically, you could go take their whole rotation while they're up there trying to gank your laner. So,
that's right.
Depending on, it's to me, very comp specific. I just think there are a lot of options, but initially, a lot of times people will focus on one or two.
And I think,
that was a huge change for sure.
Yeah, and I think getting over there to plant vision is probably a smart thing because after 4 minutes, they're going to assume that you didn't make it over here, so there's no vision here on my side.
Yes.
So they're not going to check. You don't put as many scout traps maybe on like your side of the jungle there because you're like, yeah, they wouldn't have got here. So
I'm a captain, so vision is a thing. So.
Fair enough.
Yes, that's vision. Like one of the things I liked to try when we were, messing with the change in starting gold was buy one item and just spam mines and flares.
Okay.
That's always an option. You can there's no more running to the shop every 5 seconds to buy 5 more traps. You could stack them up as much as you need to in that first rotation.
Yeah, because that starting gold does make a big difference.
I actually really like it. Again, as a captain and somebody that needs to absorb gold from my teammates, having that extra starting gold is a really nice kick. And honestly, if you play if you were to play your first 2 rotations with your team correctly, you can get a fountain in 4 minutes easy.
Yeah.
And for captains, that's a huge change. Especially initially, the way it works, if you're struggling to build a fountain and plant vision in the beginning of the game, you kind of have to make the choice between one or the other. And I think this gives you more options, and plus you have the option for more damage earlier or more mobility earlier. The change in starting gold, I think, was a really, I like it.
And you're seeing the contract get picked up maybe a little more because, hey, I can get this oak cart and a contract, and then
Another reason I think you're seeing a lot more contract early game is no potions in the shop, no shop.
So you can all stay healthy.
Yes. So think that's been a good buff to contracts without being a direct buff to contracts.
Yeah, there's no potion in the shop. Your muscle memory is tough. Like watching
Oh, yeah.
Xenotech, and he's like, I just bought flares. I don't need these. I forgot. And that's happened to me too, where it's just like, I don't need this. I guess I'll use it. I bought it. And so,
I can't tell you how many times, even now, I still go to that jungle shop and I'm, doing my buys and I'm like, wait, something's wrong. There's no potions
yeah.
here. Yeah, sometimes it just doesn't register. Like, why are these not here? Oh, yeah. And, another thing that was changed is we did make it to where you can only carry 3 potions now, max. So you cannot buy 5 potions and stack up. You cap out at 3. So that, again, I think the intention there is to make good choices with energy expenditure as well, and be careful with your health. And the removal from potions from the jungle shop was really largely based around not being able to do a run by shop during a team fight and buff your health, which is what happens a lot. I mean,
right, yeah.
And that changes, to me, it changes the way you think and the way you strategize when you're playing, which was kind of the point too.
Yeah, and as a result, you might be seeing more Lyras and Samuels and Petal, of course, come out that can kind of heal and stay alive a little longer.
Yes,
So
yes.
at the moment, it's kind of like, how do I stay as healthy as I can as we figure this out?
The healers are definitely being looked at a little differently now for what they can offer in that way.
And then the Treant, this change I feel like is a change that we're going to see more of. This was probably, I feel like it was the first attempt at it, where the Treant can now root you. And
yes.
the root it's slow, it's easy to dodge. Sometimes you're just like, I get stuck in it, like I don't care. And other times you're...
Yeah. I think that they're I love it. I think it's great. It's definitely usable if you're paying attention a little later in game. You can
attack it and kind of root in a team fight or something, right?
Exactly. So
Yeah.
that was something that I practiced quite a bit, and that was running into the jungle and being chased by a team and smack the treant, and he cast his root. By the time it hits, you basically rooted the whole team behind you. If you run far enough to get your crystal miner involved, that's a double whammy.
Yeah, that's true. So it's kind of an interesting change. I like it, and I think we'll see more of this as the treant changes happen. The projectile, the healing projectile that comes out, that's cool because I love seeing that, because you feel bad if you're the captain, you steal it, and it slowly comes to you now. I'll be like, oh, whoops. And you can kind of see who gets it and who it's on with the glowing aura underneath them. I do wish it was a little faster. The projectile.
The root?
The projectile, the healing projectile, because it starts when you get it. It feels slow.
A bit slow.
So if you're someone like Taka, who's like, I gotta get this real quick. Oh no, I'm dead.
Yeah. Oh yes. Hold on 1 second. Okay.
So those are like the main, I think, gameplay changes we're kind of seeing. We did get a new hero in this update. I always love getting new heroes.
He is really neat.
Yeah, Idris. I at first seeing him, I wasn't sold on him until you play him. I think you have to play this guy to really like understand his kit, because you see it, you're like, cool guy with like a lightsaber kind of thing.
A lightsaber, no less.
But I love his heroic perk with the idea of going weapon or crystal, because Super Evil, like, they want a lot of their heroes to go this way. They want them to build support, crystal, weapon, and kind of work and have advantages and disadvantages. And this hero kind of just is like, this was made for that.
Yes, definitely. Idris is actually a very high skill cap character, but he is definitely playable at a lower skill level as well. It's just dynamically different as you increase in your ability to do things with him. He has a lot of different things he can do. Yeah. He's got both perks, and so you can choose melee, you can choose to be ranged. If you're extremely ambitious, you can do both. It's a tough build to pull off, I will say that much. to get enough weapon power and C power, crystal power to
balance it
trigger
out.
both perks is you have to kind of give up a slot for defense at that
Okay.
point. You have to be pretty on point with it. But it is definitely doable. I think that it also gives people who have kind of a preference towards CP heroes or ranged heroes versus weapon or melee. You have a lot of choices within this one character,
Yeah.
which is really, really a neat thing to do. And the being able to dodge with his chakram and keep it going multiple passes, not an easy thing to do, but definitely doable, and maximizing the damage you can do with it. And like I said, it's just he's brand new on the fold, and just like anytime we have a brand new guy out there, we want you to get your hands on him and play him a bunch and get a feel for him, and let him do his thing. His ult, I find extremely interesting, and it's very frustrating sometimes.
Right. I think what it latches onto a target and you become invulnerable, but then after you leap off, you damage the surrounding. And when I'm playing this, you have to think about it. You have to plan like, all right, I'm gonna attach to this guy and then jump over here because I've jumped the wrong way. It's kind of like playing Sky
Well,
where
and
you
the thing is, if you don't jump off within the time that you have to do it, then it basically puts you back. You jump off to the position you started from.
Okay.
So I think a lot of that is a matter of timing. And for example, when you jump on an ally, you have a considerably longer amount of time than you do if you jump on an enemy.
Okay.
So if you jump on an enemy, I think you have 1.8 seconds, and I think for an ally, it's 2.8.
Oh, see, a few times I played him, I didn't even jump on an ally. I guess it's a targeted hero, so it's...
Yes, it is
anyone.
a targeted hero. So you can jump on an ally to save yourself, although you are possibly, going to have people do damage to your ally. But you are invulnerable for that time.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously when you jump out of your ally, you're not going to be damaging them. But
Yeah.
it's definitely interesting.
Yeah, I think
Theoretically you can jump onto an ally who's porting and hitch a ride when they port home.
I guess so. Not sure you would need to, but you could, right?
You could if you were trying to escape a horrible fight for the two of you.
Right. But yeah, I think you're right. Like a skills cap, like anyone could jump in and do okay. Where if it was someone like Sky and you picked up Sky when she first came out, you probably did not do well. But you can pick up Idris and kind of make do. But we're gonna see.
Yeah, you can definitely do, what I would say like basic stuff with him at the lower skill caps. But I think as people get to know him and really get to know his kit and learn how to use him, the skill difference, you're really going to see that there's so much more you can do with him than what you're seeing right off the bat. Mm-hmm. He's really neat to watch in action.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's because he's difficult to play, but I haven't seen him like a ton. I've seen him a fair amount. He's also been banned a couple times in draft mode that I've played, but not a lot where it's like, this guy is so strong, make sure we get him or ban him, which is a good sign.
Well, I mean, but that's that. Yeah, I was gonna say that's what we definitely want to avoid is having something hit the fold that everyone decrees as OP immediately, and he never gets to see gameplay.
Right.
Which nobody wants that. You don't want to spend all of this time and effort making a really amazing hero that nobody will play. So I think it's a good sign that, and I agree with you. I haven't seen him in every single match, but I've seen a fair amount of him. He does hella damage in BRs, I'll tell you that much.
Oh, okay.
Well, because you started out with so much more gold, you can get to that perk a lot faster.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
Yeah. BR Idris is a little scary.
The only times I've seen him, too, in game, he's gone lane, which is, for an assassin, the lane assassin.
I will say this, that he is generally intended more as a laner.
Yeah.
Excuse me. What? He definitely, during various phases of testing, struggled a bit in the jungle. And you'd have to have a pretty strong and close captain with you to really make him succeed in the jungle. And as far as jungle Idris, I saw a lot of people try it weapon. I saw a lot of people try it CP. And I think it's really a matter of being in the right hands.
Yeah.
I had some people that couldn't make him work in the jungle to save their lives, and I had other people that just it clicked with their play style and could wreck it. So again, I like the idea that it might not be for every single person, but for the people that it is for, it's fantastic.
Did you, when you were playing him, did you like weapon or crystal path?
I like the CP, but it is a struggle early game.
Yeah. That's
I mean, the CP path is exceptionally strong late game, but like a lot of our CP carries, that early game is a little tough.
yeah, that's the few times I've played him was crystal, and I kept wondering the first couple of games were like, don't I have a ranged attack? And then finally,
You have to hit 125
yeah, you get enough and you're
CP
like,
or the 125
oh.
weapon to trigger it. Um, I will say that I saw a lot of classic Vox builds on him that work really well.
Okay, the weapon or the
The
double
classic Vox CP.
CP. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So that's something to think about.
All right, I think I'm gonna have to give him another try. Dive in
Give
there
him a
some more.
spin.
Yeah, some more. He should be available for Glory on Wednesday if you didn't want to pick him up with Ice during that first week. So yeah, check him out. And I know a lot of the content creators already have videos up of him, weapon, crystal, every way there is. Cool. I think one of the other things to mention in Update 2.0, I know I talked about this on the previous video, but these 4 items have been a lot of fun to like play around with and see what's working. I know everyone was so worried about Echo being this OP item. I did run into like this cooldown Echo Arden, and the double gauntlets are pretty annoying. They're not useful, but they're super annoying.
Yeah. Echo was, I think, the most anticipated item by the community.
Yep.
That's all I heard about in streams. Like I told you, I'm in stream 24/7. And once information started getting out, people, Echo, 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 Echo,
Freaked out,
Echo.
yeah.
And it really is not, in my opinion, the most OP item to ever hit the game at all. I think it's a little annoying.
Right.
But again, I think something like that encourages you to pay attention to what your enemies are building, so that you can appropriately block things like that. Like if you know Celeste has an Echo, you want to be sure you're going to be able to block it.
At least
my particular
one,
strategy
yeah.
is, my strategy is eat the first one and block the second one.
Right.
Because if if she hit it, it's a likelihood, especially when it's this new to the game, when it hasn't been here for a while, people tend to fire one right after the other,
Right,
as far as the ults go. Whereas once you get used to it and start using it constructively, it just means you reset it. It doesn't mean you have to use it immediately.
That's true, yeah.
And so if you're strategic with it, you won't blow 2 in a row. I mean, late game, it actually can be a real killer because if you're fully built at that point, 2 Solar Storms or 2 Baron ults can really whip you. An interesting thing to point out with Echo is that it is extremely useful on a lot of heroes' other abilities. People think of it as extremely ult-centric.
Right.
And it can be used on any ability. And
yeah, the one time I picked it up was on Catherine, and I got off a stun and then another stun. Like I used it for my Merciless Pursuit that's already like cooldowns super low anyway, and it's like, yeah, you just got stunned twice and you're dead. No worries.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I think one of the most interesting uses of it I saw was somebody put a Shatterglass and an Echo on a Lance.
Okay, wow.
And used the double B.
Okay.
So you got stunned into the wall twice. You're immobile for a solid 4 seconds at least.
Ouch, yeah.
Yeah. So, really, especially when we get pro players to come to testing, it's really fun to watch the different things they come up with to try with these new things.
Mm-hmm, sure.
Because they're really, really who sets the meta down the line. Once we see something in competition, the trickle down is enormous. Minion Candy's been there forever and ever and ever, and nobody buys it, but let it be used at Worlds, and it is everywhere.
Mm-hmm. And
so, it's that's kind of the crux of the whole thing. There's a lot of different things. I like to use it for a double stun on Catherine.
Yeah.
And obviously using it on Catherine's ult is probably the most powerful ult use of it in the game.
Definitely, yeah. Yeah. Without we have VAS going on, but without Evil 8, you don't get to see these builds and these trickle downs happen. So
Sure.
everyone's chaos right now as they build
Yeah,
random items and try
oh
them
yeah.
out. The Poison Shiv item, I've seen that a couple times, and that's been pretty fun. I don't know if it's going to be a game changer, but it's nice to have this, especially on someone like Saw. I've seen it on Taka's, of course, like the double
hmm
mortal wounds. That
I
hurts.
feel like with Poison Shiv, I feel like everybody's kind of trying it out in every possible scenario at this point and
Hmm.
figuring out what it works best with and what it doesn't. And um, yeah, there's some heroes that it really doesn't proc enough to be useful on. But I think it can really give that like extra punch to somebody that needs it. Um, it's kind of it is definitely not OP, but I think it's a
No.
little more powerful than people think it is as far as when you're stacking up mortal wounds. Uh, and if you have anybody that can proc off of mortal wounds as well, I mean that you can do a lot of damage. And there's also that again changes your ideas of damage mitigation as well.
Yeah, you really that's. But it's not that expensive. I think the lifesteal is pretty nice on someone like Saw if you're gonna build
Oh sure,
this versus maybe the Serpent's Mask first. Maybe
sure,
you get this, you get that lifesteal and
sure.
the
I
mortal
I
wound.
would
So
honestly I would not put Shiv as a first item for anyone.
sure, okay.
But I have seen quite a lot of basically anybody that normally builds a serpents is throwing a shiv in there as well,
Hmm.
and that it does have an impact. I mean, it's incremental. It's not a hugely expensive item. Touching back on Echo for a second,
That's
we
expensive.
didn't we didn't talk about that. Yeah, Echo is priced accordingly so that it is not something that gets spammed too much
Hmm.
in the respect that it is expensive and it has, I don't know if you noticed, but it does not sell back for, it only sells back for 500.
Right.
So you can't buy it, sell it, rebuy it and spam it again. It's way too much gold. And the intention again behind that is to make you actually think before you buy it
Right.
because it does not offer anything except what it offers. It doesn't give you any kind of extra damage or health or anything else. It just is what it is. So you have to, and you have to give up an item slot for that as well. It's not, you're like, can I safely get rid of something I usually need to use this twice?
Right. Would another Shatterglass be worth it over this? Yeah.
Yeah, for 500 more, you can have another shatter. For crying out loud. I mean, I honestly, I like seeing it used. I got to tell you, it's probably the most fun item in BRs.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Everybody spams Echo in
I
BRs,
could
which
see
makes it
that. You have
extremely funny.
more golds. You get to those ultimates quicker, so you kind of want to take advantage of them, and so yeah.
Yes, I have seen a lot of it. Funnily, I see a lot of it on Rhyme of all
Oh,
things.
okay. Probably,
Yeah, that hurts.
and he gets that
Not
energy.
gonna
It's
lie.
probably pretty good on him for that extra energy. So yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. The batteries come in handy, for sure.
The other item, Slumbering Husk, I've been seeing this one quite a bit. It basically, CP Jewel is dead at the moment. Like she's in
Yes
big
and
trouble.
no. Yes and no. And here's why. One, I'm a little disappointed to see so many captains building Slumbering Husk.
Yeah, that's not the use. Yeah,
It's the shake my head moment. Um,
it's just because it's in the same spot as the Crucible.
sure,
They've
sure.
misclicked. So
I accidentally. So, but to me, I love the Husk in the respect that it is kind of the answer, or it is the answer to Serious Burst. Because that is what is intended for. It is not intended for long, drawn-out fights.
hmm.
It only mitigates burst damage. Um, so the husk gets triggered when you're burst. The husk is triggered, and you have protection for I think 1.2 seconds.
It's a pretty long time when it
It is a
happens.
long time, but to me, the triggering of the husk is a good, gives you 1.2 seconds to get out of a fight,
Yeah.
and to me that's saying a little something about who should be wearing it and who should not. I mean, like if you're a Koshka type that needs to bounce in and bounce out, and you get just nailed. You have that fortification for a short time. I think people are going to find that when they are taking the time and gold to build it on high health heroes, that it doesn't trigger.
Oh, that's true.
It
Okay.
takes a lot to trigger it because you have to take a certain amount of your health over a certain period of time. And if you're super tanky, they can't burst enough of your health down to even trigger it. So it's an utter waste of money.
So sorry, Finn. It's not helping you.
Yeah, sorry. I watched an Arden with it the other day that was literally just being wailed on for an entire team fight and never triggered
Oh, yikes.
because he's not being burst with enough to trigger it.
Okay.
And it does have, don't know if some people have not been paying attention to the cooldown on it. So once it gets triggered, then you're at 35 seconds, I
Yeah,
believe.
35, yeah.
That it is not in effect. So, I've had few people complain that it didn't work. And I'm like, oh, it did. It just worked for the 1.2 seconds it's supposed to. And then it
you
takes
have to wait.
30 seconds to come back. So, yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a great item for your carry, if you're a carry and you've just been like,
Absolutely.
what else? I need something. More damage does not win this fight. I need to
Well, it's
survive a
kind of
little longer.
a gank saver, in my opinion. I mean, like I said, I look at it as an item that offers you that burst protection so you can escape more so than stay engaged.
Right. Okay.
Because if a Taka comes flying out of nowhere and, starts to obliterate you, you need to run. You're not going to take him down right that second. And you have that fortified health to be able to make that escape without them chasing you down and destroying what you've got left.
For sure. The last item, which I have not even seen in a game yet, is Null Wave Gauntlet.
Oh, have you really not seen it yet?
I have not been in a game where someone's built this. So what it does is it's
I
it's
am
an item
calling it
silence.
right now.
Yeah.
Null Wave is definitely the sleeper item of 2.0.
Okay.
Once you try it, or have somebody try it on you, it is definitely a very strong item. Like I said, I think people are drawn to a lot of the flash of some of the other stuff that's going on.
Right.
But Null Wave is probably the deadliest thing that made its way into the game this patch, in the respect that it is a 5-second item silence. That is as long as a Catherine ult.
Right.
That is a long silence for your carry or yourself. I mean, your captain or yourself to not be able to use any activatable items.
Yeah, it can be deadly because I know you get hit by that Catherine ult and you're like, wow, this sucks.
Yeah,
Guys,
and it feels bad. So imagine you get hit by Cat's ult. It feels bad. You can't use anything for 5 seconds. Dang. But this is a item that someone can carry and do that to you fairly regularly. It has a fairly short cooldown.
40 seconds, yeah.
Yeah, compared to a Cath ult, that's a very short cooldown. It also does damage. It doesn't do a lot of damage, but it does damage. And so basically you're jacked for that time period. And people think of that as like protection items like Fountain, Crucible, Atlas, whatever, but that also means you can't use your boots. You can't use anything.
Right.
I mean, you can't
Pop a potion,
and,
you can, yeah.
Yeah, you can't use anything that you would tap on. I think one thing I hope people pay attention to is it is an item silence. It is not an ability silence. A lot of people have come to me and said, well, I used it and they still beat me. And I'm like, because that's not an activatable. That would be an ability. But once people, I think you're going to see a lot of it on captains, because it's basically intended to be used on a captain, and the best way to prevent that from being used on you is to null wave the other person first.
Right.
Yeah, so they can't null wave you back. It is not difficult to block once you get used to the animation for it, and
Because you can reflex block it.
It is a very slow moving projectile. It is not instantaneous by any means, so it should definitely be blockable.
Okay.
Yeah, that's one thing, and I mean, to the point that I actually went in 1v1s with my daughter and practiced blocking it for a little while, so just in case, because you need to be able to see it coming to do that. But I've actually seen it in quite a few games, and again, this is just that time where the game is freshly out. I would love everyone to just get in there, try all the new stuff, mess around with builds, and settle into it.
Right. Yeah. I wonder if I haven't seen it because people are afraid, right? They like I have my like items I build. I don't have room for this no wave gauntlet. What am I gonna give
Part of it,
up?
part of it, I feel like there's definitely that factor. And I also feel like it just wasn't something that got a whole ton of hype before the update.
Sure. Okay.
Um, and like I said, it was very, very echo, echo, echo. And then when people found out mortal wounds on poison shivs, and oh my god, it's going to be OP. There was a little bit of talk about Husk. Virtually no talk about Null Wave, except for a few of us hardcore captains that are like, yes. But I kind of like that it wasn't super hyped, because once people start getting nailed with it, they're going to really be like, whoa, this is pretty serious item. I I wouldn't mind seeing the silence on it go down a couple seconds.
Oh,
I think it's
okay.
a very long silence. Um, and again, like I said, get in a game, let someone hit you with it. It's difficult to deal with. So I call it, definitely, that's me marking it down, sleeper item of
Okay.
2.0
I
for
think I
sure.
just need to like when I'm playing captain, just go in and be like, I'm building a null wave this game. We're gonna do it. We're gonna try it. Let's see what happens.
Me
Like,
personally, a lot of my early game building has not changed at all.
okay.
But and I saw a lot of that in testing as well. Once the novelty kind of wears off of all of the new stuff, then you really settle into how can I um, constructively use these new things in the way I play the game.
Well,
And that's what I like about adding new items as well, is that, there is no standard, this is what you build every time. It's individual to the comps, it's individual to the heroes, and it's individual to the player. I mean, everyone has a different play style. And so I think adding these is kind of across the board, changes up the game and keeps it interesting for everyone, from new people that are just coming into the game to pros.
right. No, yeah, the variety of build styles is funny because like I put up a Vainglory video on the YouTube channel every day, and people comment every time, "You should have built this item instead of this." It's like, well,
Right, but that's what works for you
yeah,
and your play
I
style.
won, so it must have been okay.
I get in arguments with all the people all the time because I rarely build a contract.
Okay.
That's just not, like, I have my way I build my captains, and that doesn't always work for me. So, and sometimes it's funny because sometimes I'm like, fine, I'll try your build, but if it's not doesn't suit my particular play style, then it just doesn't
Throws you
work out.
off, and yeah, you're
Yeah.
just not in there.
But I love that because, in the grand scheme of the game, there's so many different levels of players that I love the idea that just these four items can change a dynamic for every different level. And that's, I mean, really the goal, because we love having our established players and pros and everybody, but we also love every new person that we can get in the fold.
Right. So yeah, that's most of the stuff in 2.0. I think there's some nerfs, some fun skins, all that good stuff, but the nerfs and buffs were very light this time. They have been light. They've been light most of the updates. That's not like
So a lot of people felt like Lyra got smacked with the Nerf bat really hard. But so just to touch on Lyra's changes,
okay.
I want to mention to people that while the burst heal is gone, the burst damage is still there, the speed boost is still there, and the increase to the heal over time is very, very strong. You could, if you even go in solo, throw it down and stand in it, the healing is incredible. So it has taken Lyra mains a little bit of adjustment time to. You really only had to make a slight adjustment to play style. So to everybody out there who's saying "Rip Lyra, 2016," it's not true.
No,
She's still totally usable and totally awesome, as well as Kestrel.
she's getting banned out most of the time in games.
Yeah, still, yeah. And I mean, but what's cracking me up is seeing people who don't read patch notes, and they definitely are still trying to use that burst heal, and it is gone. It does not function. And as far as Kestrel goes, I saw a lot of Rip Kestrel as well. She is still exceptionally strong. There were very slight changes to her, so I would not mourn Kestrel just yet.
Well, at the moment, everyone forgot how to play Kestrel because she was banned all the time, so they're not.
Well, yes, and the other thing you have to think of is, I think that with all of the changes to the game, having to also adjust to changes to a character that you normally play might feel a little more impactful because you have all these other things going on that change the way you play.
Yeah.
So like I said in the beginning, and I'm saying again, everybody give it some time. Let the Halcyon dust settle in the fold
Yeah.
and enjoy 2.0 because it is a fantastic update.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting, and I hope I've seen a lot of players who said they left and now they're coming back, and it's a
Mhm.
good time. I think if you took a break from playing because school or life or just need something different, like come back, it feels like a different game.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's all new, but it's all the same at the same time. So I think it's, I really hope everybody loves it. We put a ton of time and effort and heart into this update. So I hope everybody loves it.
Nice. Well, that's gonna do it for episode 134. Nightwalker, thanks for joining me. This was fantastic.
You're very, very welcome. I'm glad to be here.
Where can people find you? Are you on Twitter, or do you just look for you in
I
streams?
am on Twitter, xnightwalker59x on Twitter. Everywhere else, it's just Nightwalker59.
All right, and then keep an eye out for you in streams. 35
Everywhere.
mods, and so that's a lot of
Generally,
things.
the one with the green sword hiding, doing some work,
Nice.
secretly working on PvE in the background.
All right. And you can follow Shatter the Vain on Twitter at Shatter the Vain, website shatterthevain.com. All the episodes are posted there, links to the iTunes, YouTube version as well. And I'll be back with 135, which I think would be the day after Christmas. I better record that early. So I'll be back next week.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Christmas, it's here. All right, take care.
Let's get this over with.